Welcome to Where Parents Talk. I'm Lianne Castelino. Our guest today is a father of one who is set to participate in his third Olympic Games for Canada. He heads to Tokyo as one of Canada's medal hopefuls in the 200 meters. In January of 2021, the Toronto native added a new first to his long list of accomplishments. He and his wife became parents to a baby boy named Kingsley. Aaron Brown joins us from his home in Winter Garden, Florida. Thank you so much for squeezing us into your schedule, Aaron.
Of course, no problem at all.
I wanted to ask you, speaking of schedules, what's it like, heading into the Olympic Games and training as a new dad, a father of a 6-month-old?
Well, it's tough, because on one hand, you want to spend as much time you can with him and soak up those moments while he's still young and squishy and still, so dependent on you and all that stuff and changing every day. But at the other end of the spectrum, you're trying to prepare for one of the biggest races of your career, well, probably the biggest. So, find that balance between taking care of myself, but also, being a father and trying to support my wife, being a husband as well. It's a juggling act for sure. And there's some days where, I'm dead after practice. It's, really hot outside and I'm, exerting myself and pushing my body to the limit. And I come home and then, there's stuff that has to be done around the house and, that stuff gets challenging sometimes, but I have a good partner and we work it out and she understands my needs and my, the day-to-day obligations that I have. So she's definitely there to support me. So I'm definitely thankful for that.
And you're so new into this whole world of parenting too, right? Like, have you always wanted to be a dad?
I did. I always looked at my parents and our family dynamic. I have two sisters, so a family of three. And just being around that environment, I always thought, one day I want to be married and have a family of my own. It just seemed like, the natural thing to do. And, I'm fortunate to have one child and hopefully more in the future. But, our little unit right now is awesome. And it's great to have.
I like how you call it your little unit. So as an elite level athlete, preparation obviously is such a big part of what you do on a daily basis in so many different ways. I'm curious, what kind of preparation did you and your wife undertake before you decided to become parents and also once you found out that you were going to have a baby?
Well, we had to plan it according to my season pretty much. That's kind of how you have to think when you're an athlete because there's certain parts of the year where I'm in and out so much, which is like right now. And we didn't want it to be a situation where she was pregnant about to give birth and I have to be on the go. So we had to strategically plan it so that I for sure would be in town, which is like the fall, winter time, because that's when bay season is. I'm not traveling, I'm not competing. So at least then I'd for sure be there for the birth. And then a couple months afterwards where she's still recovering and I could be there to help. And, if I take some time off of practice, it's not like detrimental to the season. So that's exactly what I did. I took a week off after the birth and then she's a trooper. So she recovered really fast and, I was able to get back on her feet pretty quickly and, handle the reins really quick. This is impressive. But yeah, we just have to be strategic about it because, the reality of it is this is my job and this is how I provide. So I have to be able to be at my best.
It's interesting for somebody who's, always got to be so concerned about timing. It sounds like the timing and all that planning really worked out for both of you.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well. We can, tweak certain things here and there in terms of our timing now that we understand what it takes to raise a child and we're going into it fresh the first time. So now if we go for a second child, we know exactly what to expect and what we'll need. So we can even fine tune that timing even more. But you can't, it's also hard to know when you're going to conceive. So you can have everything in plan and have a perfect strategy, but it might not just work out that way just because, that's how human biology is. So
Yeah.
we were fortunate in that it worked out according to plan and, just got to be meticulous about these things and have a little luck on your side.
Did you both enroll in prenatal classes?
We did, yeah. But
And how'd
because it
you
was
find it?
COVID, we had to do it.
Oh,
We had to do one online, but we actually found one because in Florida we're a bit different than how it is in Canada. There was one class that we found that would allow us to come in as long as we social distance and had masks on. So we did that one with the Lamaze teacher.
nice. So, what would you say has surprised you the most about being a dad? That, the prenatal class, maybe books that you read, people you've talked to, none of those things prepared you for what you're facing now. What surprised you most?
um, I think the biggest surprise is just that he's an actual human, because humans are unpredictable and we go through an array of emotions. We all have our needs, and whatever it is on the day, you just could wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and you forget that like this child that you're preparing for, you're like, okay, you could expect this to happen, this to happen, this to happen. It's not going to be as like planned out and orderly like that. And when you're practicing with the dolls and dressing them up and whatever, like for example, I practiced putting a diaper on a doll because we had a diaper and wipes party. So I'm with my doll getting it ready, and I'm like, okay, I think I got the technique down. But you don't anticipate the baby's crying or kicking and moving around and all that stuff. Like your doll doesn't do that. So it's not as, hands-on as it is with having actual baby. There's stuff that's just practical that you can't prepare for. You just have to get in the trenches and, experience it with a live baby, with your son. And they all have different personalities too. So like they all have their own quirks and different things that they do for themselves that you might not anticipate because it's not what a typical baby may do. So it's just learning your baby and being in tune with them and what they like, what they don't like. He hates to have his face washed, like when you take the cloth and wipe his face, he hates that. So, some babies might like it. He used to hate the bath, but now he loves it. So it's like just learning your baby and adapting to them as a human and understanding that just like yourself, there's things that you may like and grow to hate, or things that you may hate that you grow to like. And, we just grow and evolve every day, and they're actual human beings. So some things are just about the human development.
Well, and it's interesting because someone like yourself, at the level, obviously being an Olympian as you are, um, predictability certainly has a great level of comfort that comes with it, and parenting is anything but predictable, as you've just pointed out. So I'm curious,
Yeah.
how has that forced you to change how you approach, your daily routine or anything like that with this baby?
Yeah. When you're an athlete, there's a lot of things that you have structured and planned out, and you know exactly, okay, today I'm going to do this, and I'm going to sleep for this amount of hours. I'm going to eat this. I'm going to practice here. And it's like repeatable, and you predict it, and it's just built into your schedule. So it's almost like you don't even have to think about it. You just go through the motions. With being a father, everything is kind of about flexibility and patience. Sometimes um, things may take longer to get ready for an event, or if they're just trying to put them to bed, they might not be tired yet, or they might not want to read their book tonight, or you know things. You just have to be flexible and open to what they want, and you have to kind of be patient enough to know that, okay, even though this would work for me, this is not what's going to work for him. So you have to adjust and adapt on the fly.
For sure. Now, there are a few other babies born among some of your teammates on Canada's national track team. Do you guys swap or share stories at all?
So it's funny because I actually have two teammates on my team that I train with. They're both American, Justin Gatlin and Kyrie King. I had my son January 26th. They had their child in December of 2020. So we're all within a month or so. And we all come to practice each day, like, oh, how was your night? How was the baby? How they sleep? And like, oh, it's terrible. I got no sleep. Or, oh, he actually slept really well. Or today he tried to crawl. Or, today he was cranky or whatever. And it's just like we share war stories. And that's pretty cool to be able to experience that with, my immediate teammates that I'm training with every day. As far as people like, Andre, who had his kid, or Brendan Rodney, who had his kid a couple years ago, and Gavin, I could share stories about like what they went through when they first had their kids and be like, yeah, I experienced the same thing. Or, no, my child didn't do that. That's crazy that yours did or whatever. And it's kind of cool that like, for a long time, the common denominator between us was just track, but now it's like fatherhood and something that everybody else can relate to.
That is really neat. You mentioned your childhood. You're the middle of three children. And I'm wondering, in what ways do you think that your childhood is going to impact the way you parent?
Yeah, I mean, I think if people have positive experiences from when were a child, they're going to use those as guidelines for when they're parents. And that's certainly the case for myself. There's a lot of things that I remember as a child that I was very fond of. And, I could say, okay, the way they parented this was the reason that I'm this way. And I like that. And I would love to instill that with my child. And even the things that you didn't like, you could take those and like, okay, that negatively impacted me. So let me try and do it in a better way or a different way that might yield better results. And it's all about, like I said, flexibility with your child and understanding who they are as a person and their personality, because what might have been good for you might not work for them. So even if you have that roadmap of what worked for you and what you liked, you can try it and use that as a guideline, but then at the same time, be flexible enough to say, okay, they might take on a different personality. Let's try something different. And the cool thing about it is that I have my own experiences and my wife has her own. So we can kind of blend and pick and choose which is the ones we want to implement as new parents. So it's an interesting map, and we just kind of are forging our own path, but at the same time, we have the guidelines from when we were kids to reference.
So, on that note, is there anything in particular that you are grateful for now as a parent yourself that really you probably didn't even think about till you became a dad, right? Something that you're grateful for from your childhood that now you're thinking about, wow, you know what? I was really lucky to have that.
Yeah, I'm just grateful for all the experiences I had growing up, like everything that they exposed me to at an early age, especially with like sports and stuff. Like I got to taste different sports. I played pretty much everything across the board and I got to figure out what I liked and what I didn't like. They put me in all kind of summer camps and different activities and stuff like that I'm looking forward to when Kingsley's old enough to put him in and see what he likes and what he enjoys. Just being exposed to different things growing up in Toronto, there's a lot of opportunity and, similar things down here in Florida for him that he'll be able to try and be able to say, okay, at least I got to experience it and know what I liked and what I didn't like. So it's all about just finding what suits you and be exposed to different things. And I think I was very fortunate for my parents to do that at a young age. And that's something that I'm going to pass on to my kids.
It sounds like you're going to be really busy, Aaron, with all of those different activities going on. Good for you. I want to talk a little bit about adversity, and certainly the adversity that you've experienced and many others over the last sort of 2 years or so. Whether it's the Olympics being delayed, obviously the pandemic. On top of it, it's not adversity, but you're becoming a dad adds a new layer to your life. What in general would you say is your approach and has been your approach to overcoming obstacles that really have come in handy during this particularly, extraordinary time?
I think it's all just about your mindset and how you internalize things when they happen. With regard to like the pandemic and having Tokyo delayed and, all the different hoops and things we have to jump through in order to, adhere to safety protocols and making sure that we can still get adequate training, but at the same time be safe and not knowing and all the uncertainty if certain events are going to happen, if they're not, and preparing for it. It was challenging at times and finding the motivation, especially in 2020 early on when, Canada first pulled out of the Olympics and then it was postponed. It was kind of like, okay, well, how do I still stay motivated each day, knowing that that big goal that I was working towards is pushed down the line? And you just have to really understand that like you're going to face challenges and that's the inevitability of the sport and you don't know what it's going to manifest into and look like on the day. But when you meet that challenge, you have to be able to adapt to it, and especially in something like this, because everybody's dealing with it. So it's not just you. And the people who go on to be successful are the ones that can understand that there's challenges, but still be able to mitigate them and know that they have to do things to still be at their best. And no matter what challenge they may be facing, they're not going to use that as an excuse and a reason not to go persevere. And so that's something that I've been trying to really work on and, understand for myself, is that no matter what happens and what I face, I'm going to be able to, well, at least I tell myself I'm going to be able to rise up on the moment and be prepared no matter what. And so it's just having that self-discipline and finding your why and what motivates you, and really reinforcing why you're doing it, and leaning on that when times get uncertain and you're not really sure what you're out there training for, when it's, the events could be uncertain and you don't know what could happen. You just have to really lean on your motivation levels and why you're out there trying to perform and who you're doing it and representing. For me, that's a big one, is I do this for, my country. I do it for my family. I do it for the love of the sport, and I do it for, I have my own personal goals that I really want to achieve before I retire. I'd love to leave a nice legacy for my son to try and live up to if he so choose to. So I'm out there every day working hard, just, for those reasons. And even though I might, have a bad race here and there, or an event might be canceled, or, there's uncertainty here, or whatever the case may be, I'm always keeping sight of that and just making sure that why is always instilled in me.
Well, it clearly seems to be working for you, because you had a terrific showing in the Canadian Championships with 2 first-place finishes in the 100 and 200. You won a bronze medal in the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio. What are you looking forward to most as you head to Tokyo?
This is a stage where I've been training for 5 years now, since 2016. The minute I ran my last race, I was already looking forward to the next one. Just, in some ways it's a redemption tour for me, and trying to show the world what I can do in the individual events, because I didn't have my best showing in 2016 in the individuals. But at the same time, it's about just proving to myself that I know I can be the athlete that I believe I am. And my small support staff, like my family, my agent, my coaches, my teammates, those people that have been riding with me no matter what, through thick and thin, I'd love to have a good showing, just to, as a thank you for them for sticking with me and for believing me. I'd love to prove them right and prove myself right. So I just want to go out there and have a great showing and be able to show exactly what I can do, and whatever place that puts me at, I'll be positive with, if the performance level is up to where I think it should be. And then in terms of the relay, we'd love to upgrade our medal from bronze and, see how far we can take it.
How different is it going to be for you potentially running without fans in the stands?
It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird for sure, because, I've been running at tracks locally and stuff with no fans. So that's not new. From 2020 to 2021, there's been certain events where there's been no fans and the atmosphere is kind of dead. It's not that, the Canadian Championships, it was like that. There's no fans, and contrasting that with 2019 when it was rocking and, it was the 100-meter final and everyone's loud and cheering. And, it was one of the best fields that we've ever had at a Canadian Championships that I've been a part of. And then you got 2021 where there's nobody there, and it's kind of like, ooh, it's
Yeah.
it was different. But
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, if you're able to adapt to no matter what the circumstances, you're gonna tell yourself you got to get it done no matter what. And if some people may rely on the fans to get them up and pump them up and get their adrenaline going, whatever the case may be, you can't use that as your excuse, like, oh, there's no fans, that's why I didn't show up. Because at the end of the day, you have to be able to perform on demand. And that's just the same thing. So I'm going in there knowing that there's no fans. It's not going to feel the same as the first 2 Olympics where, it was jumping and it was great. It was a great atmosphere, a great event. It's going to be different. But at the same time, I'm not going to let that hold me back from what I'm trying to accomplish.
I guess it's safe to say that your baby son Kingsley one day will, be watching it on video, because he's too young to watch it. But I wonder, Kingsley is named after your grandfather, and I wondered what the impact of your grandfather has been on your life.
Yeah, so I He's named after my biological grandfather. His middle name is Kingsley, and that's actually my middle name as well. So he's kind of a junior after me and my grandfather. Um, you know, he obviously hadn't had a chance to meet him because my biological grandfather passed away before Kingsley was born. But just seeing the positive impact he had on my mom, it's something that I'm very grateful for because my mom speaks very highly of him, and that's something that I'm going to tell my son about when he's old enough to understand, and just live up to that Kingsley name and try to represent it the best way he can.
Finally, Erin, what would you say that you have learned about yourself in the last, couple of years, even 5 years, as you talked about the last Olympics? You've been training since then to get to this day. And now with being a dad, what would you say that you have learned about yourself in the recent past?
Just that I can be resilient when, I can focus in on getting the job done. Facing adversity is nothing new to me. I've had my challenges over my career, my ups and downs, and I'm pretty much, prepared to deal with anything that could come this way. If you can deal with the pandemic and staying motivated and, finding a way to go out there and work hard each day, even though you don't know if you're going to have a season, that's pretty much the most uncertainty you're going to have in a career that I can foresee. So I learned that I'm able to weather the storm when challenges come, and I could still have that laser focus on my goals. And, I'm prepared for any type of ups and downs now because I've been battle tested.
Erin Brown, we wish you all the best in Tokyo as well as on your parenting journey. Thank you so much for your time.